Well, hey, everybody. What's up? Just on my way to go do a podcast, and I stopped by this advertisement that I'd share with you. SketchCraft.com. Hey, Brandon.
Yes, sir.
You on your way to the podcast?
I'm heading that way, but I got kind of held up.
Held up by what?
SketchCraft.com.
Oh my goodness, hey, look at that. Oh my gosh, look, here's the actual site. I'm there now. Look at all this nifty stuff. Brandon can no longer waste his money on because I don't let him.
I've been banned. But I can still look.
This is a 4-year ban, right?
It's I believe so, actually. I think so. It's not even a joke, everybody. That's actually true.
I banned people for a long time. And you know, Brandon, if you had spent all your money at SketchCraft.com, I would have appreciated it, but you would not have been able to pay for the bills you still can't pay for right now. Right?
Exactly.
But maybe then you would have your walls decorated and all this nonsense you see here. How great was that? All right, well, you know. Brandon does have the original version of this, right? Look at that old drawing. Ooh, the Raphael. Hey, you do. And I figure since Brandon owes the original, you guys can own a copy. Got a set of 4 here going on here for $45. So, like I said, folks, I only put limited stuff up. I've been getting a lot of requests recently for these turtles and some of the Mega Man stuff. Which, by the way, you should all know, this Mega Man stuff you see here is probably, I'd say 99% going to be in the Mega Man 11 Tribute Art book, shipping soon. So they're supposed to send me a copy, Brandon. So
nice.
Then I will go to SketchCraft.com and buy something for myself so I can own it too, right? And yeah, yay. All right, everybody, let's get back to the show. Let's go. The show looks a little different. Dum, dum. Hey everybody, welcome to the, oh my goodness, the SketchCraft weekly podcast. And when I say weekly, I mean, you know, probably. It should
be consistent. We've been good about it.
It should be called the SketchCraft Probably Podcast, you know?
Probably weekly podcast.
It's amazing. You know, if you're on iTunes and you go, or you're downloading this, not on YouTube. By the way, folks, I put every podcast I've ever done up on the YouTube. So I want to start to show off here a little bit. I got 2, Brandon. I got 2 people asking me about how come there's only 5 episodes on the iTunes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to go there right now. SketchCraft iTunes. Because I want to show you all this. If you're downloading this podcast directly through a podcast app, there we go. This is where the iTunes app is. You're going to see there's only 4 episodes in here. Yet look at all these reviews dating back to 2013. The reason for this is I refuse to spend the $200 to $300 a year to have a podcast company host this podcast. I refuse to do it, Brandon. I did it for 4 years, for the length of the original podcast, and then I stopped doing it. What I've done, though, is I have put every version, if we go to SketchCraft, the YouTube channel, right on the YouTube channel, they're down here, there's SketchCraft Podcast, which is all the podcasts we've done in the last few years, and then there's SketchCraft Podcast 2010 to 2014, which was the original 55, 56 episodes we did around 4-year period. Brandon, you didn't jump until 2013, I want to say, 2012?
2012.
2012.
I think so.
So a couple years of just me in there. And then 100 plus here. We're really around episode 150 something.
Something like that. Yeah. It's up there.
But like every other useless comic book company, we renumber every year and get that number down because we like low numbers. Just like my views.
I
Brandon?
reinvent myself every couple of years, so we're good.
We like low numbers around here, like our bank accounts, our views, our likes, right? As opposed to the high numbers, the high numbers of the thumbs downs I seem to get every now and then from like 6 consistent people.
Yes.
It's like every now and then, Brandon, 6 consistent people remember that they subscribe to this fucking nonsense, and so hold on.
We got some good ones though. Like shout out to Luke in the chat room. He said he digs the new intro, and he's watching us with 10% left on his phone right now. So that's
oh my goodness, the last 10%.
We got to make it good.
Just like Brandon's bank account before I cut him off from shopsketchcraft.com. You remember when you bought you wanted to buy like $150 worth of stuff, and that's why I'm like, you need to stop. Like
you cut me off. I think the last thing I bought was about $200-300 was the Phoenix print, sketch, and drawing.
Yeah, and like you guys were trying to find an apartment, and I'm like, your wife's gonna hate me, and every time I go there, I'm gonna be reminded of.
I have but to be fair, you're not the only artist I buy art from. It's not like my whole walls are just Rob. It's other artists as well.
And we've all cut you off, right?
Yeah, everybody cuts me off. I don't know how to pronounce the name. I guess Sixer asked what this stream is about. What's this stream about, Rob? What is the
podcast? This is where every week or so we just talk about what I've been up to, man.
And Rob is a professional artist, fair to say?
Oh, no. Yeah, hey folks, if you don't know who I am, then that's probably because I don't count. Like
you're not relevant.
I am definitely not relevant, you know. I don't know about all this. Here's the thing. I am working on a video where I can explain to people what the point of all this is. But until then, you'll just have to like hang out or not hang out.
Can I go directly into one of my topics? Because it just kind of fits in.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Because I really, and we did not plan this. It just happens this way usually. At what point should someone consider themselves a quote-unquote working pro? That's the first part of the question. Second part, when did you, Rob, consider yourself to be one?
I was not a working pro until November of 2005. And that's when I got a full-time job making art for t-shirt companies. Like, that was my full-time job. I mean, I got lucky in that I actually had to go and interview, bring a portfolio, get hired, clocked in every day, got paid a salary, you know, to do graphic design and illustration. So when your full-time job is making art and getting paid for it, then there you go. Now, that's not to say you're not an artist. Matter of fact, I almost recommend most people do this shit on the side. Seriously, and that's not anything against you. It's just I think you'll probably create better work, more compelling work. You'll spend your life in ways that are meaningful, as opposed to the endless amounts of projects I've worked on that went absolutely nowhere. And folks, if you're wondering why I got this image up versus the normal one, it's because I have to make a. If I go back to the weekly podcast. Here's the thing. I run this thing called Open Broadcasting Software. So right here is the weekly podcast. If I click that, it'll play the theme over again. So it's a little chink in the system since kink in the system since I rebuilt all this stuff. So I need to add a title card separate of that. So I'm just manually putting it up for now. But yeah, so that's what I would say. But look, here's the thing. Most people in life, they're like my dad, right, or anyone else. They go, they have a job, they make some money, they come home, they wonder what life is for. Sometimes they do different hobbies. Sometimes they play video games. Sometimes they go drinking. If you're making art, at least 50% of the time you're off in your life, you're going to at least spend your time being creative, and you're going to make things. And when you go to the movies, or you read comic books, or manga, or watch cartoons, or whatever, when you see other things, you'll then have an appreciation for the amount of effort it took to make that, and you'll see it in a different light. This is why I got exposed to the making of films on accident in 1984, when HBO first got the rights to 1984, yeah, when HBO got the rights to Return of the Jedi, they put up the making of Return of the Jedi. It was like a 30-minute thing, and it would play every night before Return of the Jedi. So
That's pretty cool.
85, yeah, and so. And they didn't have animatics, so when they had to work out the speeder bike sequence, they literally had little speeder bike toys they made, and guys on like sticks, and they would run them through a model and go, woo, you know. But I learned, wow, from that comes this movie, you know,
Right.
and that set me on the path of learning how movies were made, how cartoons were made, you know. And I stopped going, well, I liked that movie, but I didn't like it when it did this. I mean, I always look from the frame of like, well, those were bad visual effects. That shot did not work out, and that's how I could tell the difference between Mac and me and E.T. You know, when I was a little shit nobody. You know,
Right.
and it wasn't just because a bunch of people were dancing at McDonald's. You know, but I'll tell you what, man. I have friends that do this full time. They're in art departments, and they're not artists. How do I describe it? They're artists, they're paid professionals, but they're not artistic people. They're literally coming in and doing a job they know how to do technically, but they have no passion or love or eyesight. They generally have to, like, I don't want to say steal, but they have to be influenced by previously existing work to make new work. They can't bring anything new to the table. So that's where this whole channel comes from. It's like, well, how do I describe that point where you're going beyond technicalities, you're going beyond just getting it done, and you're starting to produce things that come from somewhere. And I don't have I'm just now grasping at those answers, Brandon. 20 years, I mean, I've been doing this professionally since 2005. That's 13 years. I set on the path 100% in 1998. 20 years ago to this year, I quit everything and join the military just so I can get away from everyone and focus on my art and put myself on this. Everything I'm doing today is because of a choice I made in 1998. 20 years, fuck. And I'm just now understanding how to do that, you know? How to get in that stuff so your work becomes more personal, you know? And some of it, this is a separate subject, but I think some of it, because it's been on my mind, especially the last 24 hours, Brendan. I haven't talked to you about this because you have a new job, right? And I'm, you know, and you're all fucking busy. So, but I've been thinking a lot about the way to make a personal statement is to narrow out a lot of details and focus on very specific things. So, I've done pieces where it's just been a head sketch or a body sketch, and then I've done pieces where there's hundreds of characters. And it's tough. Like the phrase that comes to mind is, when you show everything, you say nothing. And so try to think about it like this. Like, you know when you see a movie where everything's exploding all the fucking time? Like, they're blowing up the world again. You know, they call that Bayhem or whatever. Like, it's just disaster porn might be another word for it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, there's all this shit's getting blown up in a movie, but you don't care.
Right.
You know? Because they're showing all this stuff happening, but there's nothing personal about it. When you look at an image of a city, if you trace that city line for line for line, you're going to have a very technical drawing that a lot of times will just say nothing. It won't feel like anything. And so there's a way of reinterpreting the data and edging out details and focusing in on stuff that allows you to create a personal statement. And that's sort of what I've been trying to arrive at. Like the last 24 hours, I've really been very zen on this subject. And literally, I stayed up far too late last night going over stuff on this. And so this podcast is where I get a chance to talk about that in a concentrated effort versus on one of my random real-time streams. Now, I want to take it to another question I had recently come up on the YouTube channel. Since we do like feedback, this is something I get often. So I thought I would read it back to you. A comment came from Dragon ICVS, which I appreciate. They took the time to ask, why don't you do more tutorials or speed arts and story art like other YouTubers do so I can grow my YouTube? And then I replied, I do have plenty of speed tips and art tips and playlists, but they don't seem to grow my channel any more than real-time vids. I've always had a small but dedicated following for my entire career. It happens. So I like to elaborate on this a little bit more. So first off, folks, if you're wondering if I have speed vids or anything, I have a whole playlist here of speed vids. There's like 50 videos in there of me drawing, painting, doing color pencil. Matter of fact, if I just open this up right here, we can go right down. I've done 3-minute ones, 1 minute, 45-minute, hour and a half with commentary, talking through all this stuff, 20 minutes, 10 minutes. I've tried every variation of minutes there are. Watercolor, Copics, digital, landscapes, doesn't seem to matter. I generally average over a year or two's time 1,000 views per video, right. And then usually about 100 views per video. Every now and then I get some bump, and for a little while I got a bump in views from these digiscapes, for these landscapes I did. And so, like, this one has 122,000 views. But I've been at 14,000 subscribers now for about a year and a half. So it's not really changing life. Now, if you're thinking, well, maybe your videos are too long, I also have this thing called the 60-second podcast. And that's where, on my Instagram, I do like these little mini tutorials in 60 seconds. And usually covering an entire project as I'm working on it, where I just plop on the phone, get in there, talk about a little piece, reiterate a lot of useful knowledge. And then Brandon is forced to take all those YouTube videos, like this Dragon Ball tribute I did is 23 parts. That's 23 minutes when you think about it, broken into 1-minute increments. And then Brandon has to put them in here in order and tag them and do a bunch of effort. And no one cares.
I do a lot of uploading and tagging and making the thumbnails and
I make them.
Need to watch these videos.
And I make them. And Brandon keeps thinking. I know one day Brandon's like, well, what's the point? And I try to explain to Brandon, right? And this is my explanation for you people. I don't care if I get 14,000 YouTube followers or 140,000 YouTube followers. 100% I do not care. Let me explain to you why I don't care. One, I'm not doing this YouTube thing to become a YouTuber, all right? It just so happens I first started doing live stream on livestream.com because I typed in how do I live stream, and that was the first thing that popped up. And I was streaming because I was starting to do things artistically that I could not remember how I did them. I would do Copics, watercolor, and I'm like, I don't know what I just did because I wasn't mentally here when I did them. So I would stream them, and then I was like, oh, hey, look, I can at least reference what I did. Problem. Live stream only would stream in like 240p or 380p. It was super low res. And they wanted $500 a year to stream in HD, and they were deleting videos that were a week old, and you couldn't organize them.
Oh, jeez.
And so I was like, well, what's the point of that? And now I had a pretty good following on live stream. I mean, I once had one night 500 people on my stream. But I was like, guys, the videos deleting don't help. So I quit the live stream and went to YouTube because YouTube was free and I could store the videos. And that eliminated 98% of my live stream on. They did not come over. There are people to this day I still haven't talked to, you know? And they were mad, like, why'd you leave, you know? Then like, now you should go to Twitch. I'm like, I can't organize my videos on Twitch either. They're like by date. You know, it doesn't quite work out that way. I've tried, man. I have the SketchCraft Twitch channel. I log in every 6 months and try to find a way to make it work, but it's an organizational effort for me, folks. Do you understand? Like, Brandon's doing all this organization for the podcast and for the 60-second podcast and for the real-time videos and the speed videos for me to go in there and see the videos organized. So I can go on any given night and remember how the hell I did something. And I do it often. That's no shit. When I haven't like when I go back to do some saucy painting, I got to go back and watch my own videos. To get a refresher, like, how did I do it? That's why I do a lot of the real time. It's not because I expect anyone to sit there and watch it for an hour 41. It's because I want to see exactly what I did in real time, how it was made. Now, there's a bonus to that, and that bonus is one, there's really not a lot of bullshit on this channel. You know, like if you see me make something, you're going to probably get to see me make 90 to 98% of it, you know? Some nights I can't stream because either the internet is out, it happens, or I'm in a really not good mood to hang out with people, and so I don't want to waste anyone's night who took the time out to hang out and be a dick and not talk to them or what. So, you know,
Right.
or sometimes just, you know, like I'm listening to podcasts and I just forget to turn it on. This happened to me once when Joe Rogan had one of those, like, you know, he does a fight nights where all the MMA guys come on there, and it's
Right.
Brian Callen and Brendan Schaub and Eddie Bravo's on there with this crazy fucking nonsense. And I literally lost so much track of time. I got a whole piece done, and I was like, I forgot to turn it on. And they went 4 or 6 hours. It was crazy. It was like a two-parter. So it happens. And then every now and then, Brandon and I come together and we talk about what we've done during the week and, you know, entertainment. I've tried everything. I've tried the entertainment. We did one where we did a wrap-up show for every One Punch Man. We did all the first season, right? They got no views. We did. What you need to understand is SketchCraft is pretty much about just continually failing and just continuing on anyway. You know?
Failing upwards.
Mm-hmm. But what there also is this. There's an opportunity here, and it's called luck. And the opportunity is I want to show you something that I did on a lark years ago, 2013. It's on my DeviantArt site, which is why I always leave this up. So when I was first designing Game Cave, I thought I was going to do the first book called Critter Junkies. Every game was going to be about critters and gaming because I did this piece for Play Magazine, which was all about the critters of gaming. And I had to cut it in half or I was never going to finish it on time. And I drew Crash, and I really liked it, but a lot of people didn't. And I wanted to do a version of Crash that was super crazy looking. So I did this, 2012. And this took me, I don't know, 6 or 8 hours to draw in color. And that's when I realized my digital coloring technique is flawed. This should not take 6 hours. Most this is a 2-hour endeavor tops.
Right.
But I was doing everything very complicated and wrong. Anyway, but I left this up. Like everything else I leave up on the internet. This pic happened to catch the eye of a game studio, which led them to the critters, which led them to all this stuff you see here, which led them to everything else I've ever done last December and got me to work on Spyro. You know? Just because they see everything else I do. So really, the YouTube, the podcast, Deviant, ArtStation, Instagram is also, I can, on a luck, snag employment years down the way. Case in point, this Hulk Saucy I did, this piece was commissioned by Bruce Powell, who is the senior lighting director at ILM. He did this one and this Logan. And that's the guy who's been in charge of all the visual effects lighting for Pirates, Transformers, Revenge of the Sith, Star Wars, I mean, all that shit. I knew his work quite well, you know, and that gave me a friend at ILM. So next time I go to San Francisco, I can get a tour of ILM personally, you know, and it sits in the studio because he's a fan of the style. So, you know, it's about making the right kinds of friends, the right kinds of fans, and finding people who are like-minded, who are interested in what you're doing, and hanging out. And then they'll come and go. You guys will be here for a year, maybe, and then you'll disappear and then come back. And if that means... I remember when Angry Joe was at 1 million people, he was having a good time. He got to 2 million. He hates his channel. Turn off comments. He was like, this place was better at 1 million. And I'm like, yeah, because you hit a point sometimes where you're not really getting fans. You're getting people who are just following on, and then they're fucking with you, you know? Right. We don't have that problem here at SketchCraft. No. But what if at 40,000 people, I started to get that. I got people that would endlessly be like, show me how to draw Batman in like 30 minutes. You know, and I'd be like, trace a picture of Batman and take credit. There's your fucking lesson. You know,
Right.
so like half of the artists on Instagram just take a photo of Batman from a movie, trace it. You know what I mean, and never give credit, and then just fucking there you go. That's a real good way to do it. But that's because I'm a bit of an asshole. Hence, there you go, the little sad Rob, right? Brandon's the nice guy in this relationship. That's why he's the happy potato.
Pretty much. I'm the. And I have the least to show artistically and career-wise, but yet I stay happy. I stay
The
happy.
most you've done career-wise is post all those videos and thumbnails.
Oh, you dick.
What? Should I? You know what? Let's be nice. Let's be nice and show people something you have done, right? That is not gonna get you any work or fans, but we can show Brandon is somewhat productive even with his. I can't use the word gimp anymore, right? That's not good. That's negative. Your goofy arm. How about that? Your injured arm.
Injury.
Whatever. So, 16-bit. See, I for some reason it's only opening up the one you did in 3/4 perspective.
Yeah, we don't got to worry about it.
No, we'll show people this one. Let's see if I can dig up the Saturn really quick, because I can't remember if I put it in Dreamcast. Saturn 02. Let's see. Here we go. So I had Brandon do this for Megavisions. And he sort of did it right. We still got to work on it.
I don't see anything on the TV, on the channel. Oh, here it comes. Here it goes.
Brandon, there's something called a delay. It's called physics, light. It's got to go through the internet, bounce off a server, get back to it.
There it is.
So now I got to come back to the Illustrator file because Brandon.
I saw it.
Yeah. So
I seen it.
Anyhow, God, see Brandon, see what happens when you run the. You screwed me up.
Yes. This is.
Now I closed Illustrator and I got to do this all over again. Anyhow, I'm doing art direction on this game magazine. For what reason, I don't understand why I signed up for this, but because I'm a glutton for punishment. And I want these technical schematics for each game system. And so I gave Brandon the task of doing that. Go grabbing photos and then tracing over them. In the case of this, we got to add a bit more detail. I'll probably just go over it myself, Brandon.
Okay.
Pixel-wise, and then you'll know what to do next time, or you can, then you know what I mean? Yeah. But this is a pretty good start, and I'm able to then take this and integrate that into the layouts and stuff, which I cannot bring up right now. So there you go. So Brandon's done that. So you have done something artistic. Yay, you.
Yay, me.
Yeah, and you kind of drawn that Mega Man, but you still got to work on your line quality. You drawing that? How's your arm going right now? With the drawing?
That was more the setting up for the light box in it. So I was just filling in some shades. But I'm gonna have to do it twice. I know already. Like I know I'll do it once and then have to smooth it out and stuff. So just working on my range of motion and movements. It's because when you draw, you kind of like flick your arm a little bit, so it just kind of still stiff a little bit and getting some rotator cuff problems, but it's fine. I'll get better. So let's move to a new.
This is how I use the Dreamcast stuff. It just recently. So this is an early layout for E3 coverage I did for Megavisions. I haven't dropped in text or anything. This is an early layout, so you can see how I take those controllers and work them into little background elements and stuff like that across the magazine since it's all Sega themed. And I've gone through and added some extra lines and stuff here. So I have to go back and do that separately later. But that's like an example of how we would use these as little elements for the magazine. So there, Brandon gets some credit.
Yay. I'm a professional.
And I don't pay you. And yeah, I'm paying you with knowledge, teaching you how to make good, reliable shit.
My bank is overflowing with knowledge.
So
let's go to story time.
Story time.
You have a story for us on the topics.
We just told a story. I need some. Any comments? before we get into story time?
Just Armando's randomness that
Mm-hmm.
I don't got to go over. So Armando being Armando with some cool stuff.
All right. So interesting. Yeah. So interesting situation occurred the other night. So I'm sitting here working, and I had someone on Instagram hit me up and say, "Hey, is this your art?" And they showed me a picture of this T-shirt,
which is always a good start to a conversation. Like, hey, does this belong to you?
Yeah, it's never good. And so it was a picture of a T-shirt, a Halo Master Chief T-shirt that said "Hail to the Chief," and in the center it had my Halo pinup that I did 5 years ago as a commission. Some guy had taken it and crushed it down to like 3 colors and put it on a shirt, and they were selling it. And I'm like, and I'm like, no, they stole my shirt. And I'm looking around the place, and there's super soldiers. They're called like warrior culture gear, and you know, they got their Space Force shirts. I'm like, whatever, dude. But it does annoy me when veterans jank. Like, dude, I served, right? But you don't see the little fucking flag next to my name and everything I do. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
most people wouldn't really know.
Well,
don't ever bring it up
because they had this thing. Here's the thing, man. I served right before I got out of the military, right before 9/11. I was medically discharged, not my choice. I hurt my back, and I spent 2 years trying to recuperate it, and I got my T-spine in a position where to this day I can't lift weights heavily or do push-ups heavily or wear motorcycle helmets. Why I can't go ATV gearing. I can't wear heavy. Brandon, have you ever seen me wear a helmet of any sort? Nope. So I had this thing that occurred for whatever reason I don't want to get into. And so after 2 years of fighting it, I fought it because I wanted to stay in. They said, you can't wear a CVC without injuring yourself further, so you're done. And I got out in March of 2001. About a year, I had a 4-year contract, and I got out a year before, whatever. Honorably, medically separated, whatever, fine. It was a 19-kilo tanker. Post 9/11, you know, so when I was in the Army, they had this thing called leadership. It's called the Soldier's Code. It's LDR, because everything in the military is nomenclature. LDR, SHIP, leadership. And it's loyalty. Guys, I'm not looking this up. It's built into you. They fucking brainwash you. Loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, personal courage. Selfless service, which means we don't run around telling everyone we're fucking veterans all the time. But for some reason, since Fox News took over the fucking country after 9/11, you know what I mean? This all came down to when we were like, you know, I'm for the troops, but we're sending them to war. So like, I lost friends, and I got friends who got limbs missing. But you know, we're for the troops. We keep sending them downrange. So for useless fucking wars. And so when I see veterans running around how super soldier they are, then I go, well, I'm one. Stop stealing my fucking art. So I go to this thing. I text you at 3 a.m., right? And let you know, hey, it's on. And so I go there.
Just fun to wake up to.
Brandon gets the bat signal. I shone a light on the heart of the SketchCraft city.
And right? I'm ready to fight. I wake up and I'm ready. I took to arms.
The potato signal goes up, or the frowny face symbol.
I took the digital hands. I was on it. I was ready.
And so immediately we hit him up, and I post up the original artwork, and I say, hey, everyone, go check out, look, art these. And then you go on there, and everyone who was like, this is amazing, you're like, tell them what you did.
So every person that either said they bought one or thought it was amazing, I made sure I let this comment of how you were also a veteran, you made the original art, and someone else stole it to make money on this, taking money away from a veteran. And I commented it down the whole thing. I think I put it up like 6 times, on the people that commented or bought. So it was well on there. I was ready to go. So.
Yeah. And so now the thing is, the guy who hit me up, his name is Cut and Bow. He's on Instagram. He's a good dude out in the UK. He also had his Halo art janked. He did some vector stuff, and they put his stuff on there too. Same shirt does brand, like we got whatever. Now, they took his down, but that was about the end of it. With me, they took it down and then hit me up and wanted to know what they could do to make it right. And which is it's essentially code for what do we have to do to get the post taken down.
Right.
And so I said, and to their credit, they said, "Hey, we hired a guy and he submitted this art." Now, that could be true, that could not be true, but I can't get into. I'm not Columbo. You know what I mean? Like, despite the face,
right.
I am very much like Columbo, but I'm just don't care. So I said, "Look, here's my freelance rate for T-shirts. If you pay me the minimum and take the shirt down, then we're square, and I can move on with life." Also, I let him know I think there's a lot of other stuff in your store that's questionable. in terms of where they got the art, and perhaps you should take a second look at that, and I recommend everyone else do. But to their credit, they paid me my minimum rate. I took the stuff down and said, "Hey, thanks, okay. Now, I believe that only happened because I'm a veteran.
Okay.
They didn't pay the other guy any minimum rate or offer him any sort of monetary compensation." Sorry. So I went and split the money up with the other guy.
That's cool.
Not to pat me on the back, just because. What are you going to?
Right thing to do.
It was a fucking right thing to do. Here's the thing, Brandon. We talked last episode about why I always frown, because I do the right thing, and doing the right thing sucks. You don't make a lot of money.
No.
That's the lesson I learned from Spider-Man. When I was a kid, he does the right thing, and he always owes rent, and he gets stiffed money from his employers, and his girlfriends leave him. That's what the right thing does. But I can go to sleep at night peacefully. I don't wake up with nightmares. So Cut and Bow was super appreciative. Like, turns out he's really been struggling financially with art stuff. Like, not in any way any more than anyone else does, but just, it's hard to get your art up off the ground financially, Brandon. So he was really appreciative of that. And I said, dude, I think artists should stick together. I think artists have a bad habit of turning on one another. The minute you go, "Oh, you're a Master Chief artist, well, you shouldn't have even drawn licensed properties." They go down this fucking path, blame the fucking artist for some guys stealing. What about the designer? Yeah, maybe there was a designer who took my shit and janked it. But at the same time, dude, like, the minute one person said their stuff was janked, you didn't questionably look at the other stuff too.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know, Brandon. And I've worked in t-shirt companies, so I know how this goes.
I worked in one for a week.
I hired Brandon. I got Brandon. I worked that game for 3 months and got Brandon a job in a t-shirt company and made him quit in 4 days.
A week. I made it 5 days.
You left on the 5th day.
I made it Monday to Friday.
Oh, that's right.
And then on Saturday, you hit me up.
It was Memorial Day weekend, because I was at my dad's grave, and we were on the phone talking about this, And I said, "Look, my advice is walk away. You're not made for this job, And it's not that you couldn't do the work. I think with an art director who was sympathetic to your skill set and with proper training, I think you could have. But that job wasn't designed around that. He needed pros who knew their shit right now, And he was telling me he wanted someone who didn't know anything so he could train them, but that wasn't the case.
That was not the case, no.
No.
I couldn't even, listen, I wasn't prepared for the job skill-wise, but also didn't make it any easier that right from the gate things did not go right. Like, I got to the job on time. I couldn't log into the pre-existing person's computer till like 9:30. I got there at 8 a.m. Couldn't log into like 9.
And we're mixing stories up now, so we'll just move that aside from a separate situation. So,
fine.
Long story short about the art thieving thing. We've had a little history with art thieves on this podcast, and I'm always hesitant to bring it up because I'm just waiting for one of those fuckers to start coming at me with some weird. Here's the thing about copyright violation on the internet. If I go and complain about a guy stealing my art, it's easier for them to get my channel taken down for complaining about them stealing my art than for them to get taken down for actually stealing my art. Where's the fucking justice in that? You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like I always weigh the options. Like, do I make a bigger deal out of this than needs to be? Do I make any
Right.
deal out of this? So what bugged me this time was it was guys in the military acting all super soldier, and they weren't following the soldier's code. Where's their integrity? They know they got stuff on there that I don't think was. Look, first off, they're selling unlicensed goods. Like I don't really
Right.
care about that. That's up to t-shirt companies to monitor because the entire internet's selling unlicensed goods. When you go to, Mighty Fine back in the day, now they have a license, but they didn't for the longest time. When you go to TeePublic or you go to any one of these things that have like Rick and Morty, as Calvin and Hobbes, those are all unlicensed goods.
Right.
So I could care less about that. That's a bigger company problem. And I've been in the companies. I've seen when they bring it up. I know their standpoints on it. So I'm not stressed about it because ultimately they're not stressed about it. They are and they aren't. It's a better way to say it. What I do get stressed out about is when people take artists' fan renderings or commissions or whatever you want to say, fan renderings of licensed properties and steal them or then blame the artist for saying they're violating copyright violation because they made a fan drawing of something. Like, people just don't understand how this works, and I'm going to give two reasons why they don't understand. One, whenever they bring it up to a lawyer will always tell them what the law says, and the law says whatever it says, but I'm going to tell you, it doesn't really fly. Like, they'll be like, well, they don't own it, and that means anytime they can take them down. Yeah, that's true. They won't, and I'll tell you why they won't, because a lot of the people that draw these things as fan arts become the next artists who draw the actual books.
Yes.
Sad to say, it's your fan art that's probably going to get you your next job. They're not going to be able to see your personal renderings of horses and go, you could draw the next Splatterhouse. It's not going to fucking happen. And it's mostly because the people being in charge, that are now in charge of hiring people, are not artistic people. Did I say that right?
Yes.
There's not a lot of artistic people who are art directors. I know it sounds weird, but they're not. There's a lot of would-be sales reps in suits and people who think they know what they're doing. Mm-hmm. So what they do is they want to find someone to work on the next Superman game. They go find people who do Superman art. It's that simple. So they'd be shooting themselves in the foot. They also don't consider it any kind of real act of threat so long as you're not fucking making a living taking over the trademark or representing yourself as real goods. Like, you don't go Superman fan art, you go supermanstore.com. Like, that's going to get you into a whole lot of fucking trouble. If you got Superman art in your sketchbook or you're selling 3 or 4 prints, they don't care. They can complain, take it down, give it a year, put it back up, it's fine. It's just a game they play. It's not a big deal. That's the realities. It's called the spirit of the law, not the actual law. The other thing I want to say is this. They cannot take your fan art and put it on a t-shirt. Do you know why, Brandon? Why can't Marvel or any company that has a Marvel license just take your fan art of Captain America and put it on a t-shirt and sell it? Because since they own Captain America, why?
Because it's a parody of their?
No, not a parody. No, you just drew Captain America.
I don't know.
Because you own the copyright of the actual artwork. Not the IP, the artwork. This is why companies have to pay you. If they don't pay you for the art they commission, then they don't own the art. This is the whole point. It's called labor. And that's why there's things called labor laws. So you own that art. In order for my art to end up in a tribute book for Mega Man or Darksiders or whatever else, I have to sign all these forms releasing the art to them, agreeing that I have not been paid, you know what I mean, that they own the rights, that they can now publish it free of whatever, they don't owe me any money, because there's labor laws. And I know this concept is lost to 99.9% of the fucking internet, but that's just the way it works. And I've been in the rooms many times with t-shirt companies when they go, if you put fan art on shirts, we're fucking firing you and suing you for lost revenue. Because they don't want the trouble. They don't want the Twitter shitstorm. They don't want this has happened.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the funny thing. This is a separate story. years and years ago when I first started at Mad Engine. Right when I first started, this is right around the West Coast choppers, Orange County choppers boom. So kind of like cholo culture, motorcycle, lowriders. What was another one?
Right.
Yeah, there was another one that ODM did. Anyhow, that was all chola based. And so, LA, Mexican stuff with the Mary and all that, the pit bulls. So this company I was working for saw a lot of that stuff at a store, and they're like, this is the next thing. Steal it. And we're like, well, and they're like, we're paying you. You fucking just steal it. And you're like, okay. And the art director, we all make the case. Probably shouldn't do it, but the owner of the company is like, I said fucking make it.
Right.
So first we made versions like the shirts. And then the owner said, that ain't the fucking shit I wanted. I want that shit. So we made that stuff on, just changed they put on different t-shirts, different bodies of color, right? That changes it, Just change it 10% is what they always say, right? And so we did that. Sold it to a major, I can't remember if it was Target or Penny's or Walmart. I can't remember. But sold it to a major retail chain. Ends up in stores. One day I come to work, and there's 20 cars in the parking lot, and they're all lowriders.
Jeez.
Apparently, the company that made the original shirts was a family out in LA. They were all in a gang, you know what I mean? Because they stick together. Yes. And they weren't too happy, Brandon. They wanted, in Breaking Bad fashion, wanted to see the owner of the company.
Yes.
And weren't leaving. So that call had to be made. And the deal was worked out. And money was spent, put it that way, before things got rough, So and so anytime I was in a studio and they would go, hey, we should just jack that shit. And it's fucking horrendous. Artists don't do it. Okay. If there's 13 artists in a room, 11 to 12 of them don't. You'll always get one or two bad seeds and they have to be reprimanded. But what happens is you get these sales reps or people who want to be a salesperson because the commissions are so high, Brandon. I mean, you're making $20 an hour, maybe $17 to $25 an hour, give or take, your position as an artist. The sales reps are getting $10,000 to $100,000 to $1 million commissions.
Oh, jeez.
And so what they do is they hire people to lay out these books.
Been a sales rep.
I tried to tell you, you'd be good in sales. You have a comforting voice.
Do you need a sales rep, Rob?
I've been having you sell shopsketchcraft.com stuff now at the front of these videos for a month, and no takers. So I don't know if
people need to see my beautiful face.
I'm just not so good with. I'm not good at that. So, anyways, you're throwing me off. So in these companies, you have to make these books that preview all the T-shirts for whatever meetings, and so they would hire people to lay out those books. And those books would work directly with the sales rep. And so those people would always see what the sales reps were making, the crazy shit they went on, the people they got to hang out with, the trips. And so those people were always gunning for the sales job replacement positions, right?
Okay.
And towards most of that career, they would always hire attractive-looking women because the owner was a fairly sexist dude. And so these chicks, I hate to say it, man, they weren't well liked. And they would come in and out. It was never one or two people. It was just a rotation. And they would always start off nice, and then eventually to see the money, and then you just start to hear, regardless of race, creed, background, state, whatever there was, you'd always end up here, just jack that shit. Jack it. And I was like, first off, as a lady, I don't know if yelling jack it is exactly the fucking phrase you want to be known for in any company. Two, don't yell out steal people's shit. You know what I mean? Right. And so I would be the fucking guy, not often, but I'd give myself at least twice a year I could get away with it and not become the asshole, who would say, I hear the bank's got lots of money, let's just jack their fucking money too. Hey, you know what I mean? Let's go jack that fucking rock star. I took right off their desk. If they had something, I'd just jack it. I jacked their fucking coffee cup. I jacked it. Just took that shit.
There you go.
And Because these people, they never once spent. I even called one out once when they were trying to tell me about art. And I'm like, name one fucking person you've purchased art from in the past year. Name one. How about the last 2 years? The last 3 years? Ever?
Right.
And the answer is never. But you're going to fucking tell me a guy who does nothing but go home, work on his own stuff, work on weekends, work on holidays, come back here, do this all fucking day, go home, step and repeat for his entire life. You're going to tell me how art works. You. I mean, I don't fucking tell salespeople how to do shit, but don't fucking tell me about art, you know? I live this shit, regardless of who gets a free iPad. These people would get free iPads every Christmas, and we got $25 gift cards to Target. I'm not kidding you. That happened one Christmas. That was the year Avengers came out. You know?
Yeah.
So, when I just, these t-shirt companies, man, it goes on and on and on. But at the end of the day, you can't take people's fan art and put it on shirts without paying them or getting a release form, because they own the copyright to that physical art. Now, if you sell reproductions of the art and you put the logos everywhere, can they give you a DMCA till you take it down? Absolutely. And I'd say if someone gives you a DMCA and says take your print out, fine. If you go to my store, I don't list the names. It doesn't say Sonic the Hedgehog Commission. It doesn't say Final Fantasy Commission. It says FF or S whatever, because it's their fucking names, you know, that and their trademarks they tend to have a bigger issue with. But whatever. I mean, a lot of my work is from my professional career or as fan art, and it's up there for a reason because that's how I get work. You know? That's it. I try, Brandon. I try to get them to be on board with these stupid little cartoon sketches you see here. No one will pay me to do it. I'd love to draw these silly little cartoon sketches all the time and get paid, but it doesn't work that way.
Right.
We talked about this enough?
Yeah.
An hour we talked about this. Well, since we already killed an hour, we got to wrap this up here soon. Did you see the Joker trailer?
Sure. The teaser, yeah.
Yeah, the
Joker.
Teaser.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Teasers, Rob. It's very Nolan-like with the look of the face paint. Like, it looks like the mask that the Joker had in the Dark Knight Nolan series, where, you know, they robbed the banks with the white face, red nose, blue lipstick or blue eyeshadow type stuff. It looked like just his Joker mask in that.
You know that was a play off the 60s, right?
Right.
Yeah, so that's from the very first episode of The Joker, which I believe was the first episode or second episode of the Batman TV series. Don't quote. No, maybe the sixth episode. Don't. I have it on Blu-ray.
Something like that.
But the first episode of The Joker, he wears that same fucking mask. Yeah.
It looked creepy. It had a cool, you know, grit to it. I'm intrigued. I'm a little intrigued. Like I was like, man, this is gonna be stupid. But then, like, you know, you see something like that, and you're like, all right, yeah, okay, I'll see what's up, you know. So it's I
have a question. You are a big DC fan, right?
For the most part, yeah.
Okay. You have a DC tattoo on you?
I have 2 of them, yes. So yes, I have a Batman and I have a Joker.
Right. So you're a bit of a DC fan.
Yeah, safe to say.
For me, the original Tim Burton Batman films were like my Star Wars. So, just such a huge fan of it.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. Aren't the complaints, am I right or wrong, aren't the complaints about the DC films these days that they're too dark?
Yes, that was the major complaints, and
this is looking kind of dark, right?
Oh, it's looking way dark. It's looking almost horror-like.
Yeah. So I don't know, like, and wasn't one of the complaints about the Snyder stuff was that he uses too much music?
Yes.
So
almost like they'd call it, like, they'd say it was almost like watching music videos with his stuff, which, you know.
Didn't we just essentially get a dark music video?
We did. We got some music playing, some creepy scene.
And so I'm like, I don't know, man. This company is fucking weird, dude. As a fan, they're weird. Warner.
Yeah.
We say DC, it's Warner Brothers. DC's making that Teen Titans show. That's a whole nother kind of weird. Which Monday we'll find. We'll say, look, we'll see what the show plays out like. Shows never look good in stills. Even the first Heath. Remember when the Heath Ledger stills came out when he was on set with the skateboard or in the entertainment? Yeah. I don't care about those. The only time they shoot any kind of stills that look good is when Ann Leibovitz. She's a photographer for Vanity Fair.
Yeah.
Whenever Ann Leibovitz photographs shit, it looks fucking. She made the Phantom Menace look amazing. Did you ever see that when the Phantom Menace was in Vanity Fair?
She did the one. She did the Vanity Fair cover where they were all in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon, right? The new crew when it was like Star Wars was rebooting.
Yeah, when Ann Leibovitz, I was like, fuck, I wish these movies looked like Ann Leibovitz's fucking photographs. Pretty amazing. Solo looks surprisingly close. I mean, the cinematography, Bradford Young's cinematography is pretty good. Anyhow, I digress. So here's the thing, man. Something that is just always confused me about this Joker movie thing is, so it's an Elseworld story. It's going to take place in the 80s. So what, Batman's going to be 10? Isn't this essentially just Gotham, the movie? Right? Aren't we back to they just,
It's a Batman world movie without an actual Batman.
It's called Gotham. Like, they made the whole show. They got 5 seasons of this fucking nonsense. I'm so confused, bro. I don't know what to think about it. Like, I'm looking at it like... So, their excuse for not putting Batman into TV shows is they have the movies and it would be confusing for people to see 2 Batman.
But we have 3 Jokers right now. We have the Joker in Gotham. You have the Joker in Suicide Squad.
He's not technically the Joker in Gotham. There is a Joker in Suicide Squad. But how about this? They're going to have a continuity of DC films that are tied together and a continuity of DC films that have nothing to do with one another. How is that not going to be confusing?
No one's going to know. And for people who aren't uber into like nerdy stuff, who aren't listening to SketchCraft,
you mean 99% of the fucking population?
Yeah, they're not going to know. They're going to be like, they're going to think that the Joaquin Phoenix Joker is eventually going to become the Jared Leto Joker.
Bro, I have friends to this day. I had a conversation when I was in Seattle with a buddy of mine whose wife legitimately fucking thinks to this day that the Nolan films are prequels to the Tim Burton movie. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm like, but Joker, what? You understand?
Oh, that's good. That's good stuff. I mean, sure, why not, right?
She doesn't know. Look, and I get it. When I was an infant, I hate to make fun of her, but she's a super smart woman who just, I'm like, she's a scientist. And I'm like, maybe this is where you realize that, okay, there's a difference between science and common sense. So I'm like, when I was a kid, I thought Beastmaster was a He-Man movie. Now, to a 4-year-old, I get it. He's blonde, right? He's got a panther friend, and okay, he doesn't talk, but I knew, realities of real life versus movie. And the bad guys aren't Skeletor, but they are turning people into skeletons. Maybe one of those people that turn into skeletons become skeletons. You understand? I didn't realize I was just way more creative than I had a right to be in 1984. A little bit of a storyteller.
There's people that even before the merger of Fox and Marvel, they were like, why isn't Deadpool in the Avenger world? Why isn't these characters in these worlds? Like, people don't realize. Yeah,
they think Superman and Batman are in the Marvel universe.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've heard that plenty of times. Mm-hmm. So I mean, people have looked at my Batman tattoo and they're like, oh yeah, I like Marvel stuff. And I'm like, yep. Batman's in Marvel. I don't even correct him. I just go, "Yep, that's right," because most people don't know, and that's the thing. So that's why it's so confusing. They're like, "We're gonna call it the Dark Universe," or I mean, that's already a studio, but whatever DC's calling it, their Dark series or whatever the fuck it is. It's like people aren't gonna know the difference. I mean, if Marvel didn't play that 10-second
this
clip at
Joker
the end of the movie that says
thing.
Marvel,
This Joker thing should be the show on DC Direct, and Teen Titans should be a big budget film on the big screen. They're fucking doing things backwards.
Yeah.
That's it. That's how I feel about it. And I feel about it now,
So how in the trailer, as you say that, in Teen Titans trailer where Robin's like, F Batman,
Yeah.
if you were to tie that into making the Teen Titans an actual movie and not show, it would actually fit somewhat in the BVS Suicide Squad world, because there's that scene where Batman looks at his suit and it's like, ha ha ha, you screwed up on the Robin outfit.
It
would fit.
You're acting like the logic and common sense are being used. Common sense. Look, my friend, his wife, super smart scientist. She once clowned me because I didn't fucking know the periodic table. All I know is element 115, which was the element that Bob Lazar said was used in UFOs, because I'm a fucking nerd! Like, and I guess I know Krypton's on there because, comic books. That's it. That's all I know.
Right.
I know what the periodic table looks like because I've had to make shirts. Right. The periodic table of DC heroes, had to make one of those. Had to make... But I'm like, yeah... The Heath Ledger Joker didn't become Jack Nicholson. How would that even work? He just take off the makeup and became old and worked for the mobsters and then fell in a vet? Like, I don't... but they don't... People just don't care like we care. That's really what it comes down to. We care a little too much. So, I don't know, man. I'm nonplussed about it, but that's just because... What am I supposed to do? Jump up and down for a fucking Joker movie? Like, it comes out, next October? Like, it's a year from now, bro. What am I can't get excited about any movie that's a year away. Like, I know they'll probably hit us with the preview of episode 9, probably in November or December, a year before it comes out,
Right.
Because that's how JJ did it the last time. And that they probably will. And so, if that's the case... I still won't be jumping up and down because it's a year's wait, bro. Like, it's like, I like when they show me the Daredevil trailer and that shit's coming out in 3 weeks.
Right.
Daredevil comes out October 19th, which that trailer looked fucking awesome. I know it's been 2.5 fucking years since they made a season of Daredevil, but geez, as long as they stick with the tone of the first 2 seasons in The Punisher, we're good to go, bro. And I want to say something else. I just started watching, we'll wrap this out. I just started watching Jessica Jones season 2, and I had to stop after 2 episodes. And I'm like, I love the first season. What happened? And I love the
first season.
I have this theory, man. They hired a bunch of people that are trying to make comic booky things, and they're not making... The way I feel about the Netflix universe... Story. They're not making a universe that fits within the tone of the characters. So, for me... The way I look at the Netflix Marvel Universe stuff is it's something specific to the tone of the character. In the case of Matt Murdock, it's like Law and Order meets Unbreakable. Mm-hmm. Unbreakable meaning that it's like a grounded, realistic version of superpowers in some way.
Yeah. He still gets his ass kicked, but he still fights. He still keeps going.
It's super grounded in heightened ability, heightened reality. But it's not taking the frames and speeding them up with a little motion blur to make a fat guy run around the city. Like, that's not a good idea. That's CW territory, and not even good CW.
I made it through, I think, 4 episodes of Jessica
When
Jones,
she said Scrody sense, I turned it off. This is not the same character from the first season.
No. And my wife, she didn't even finish the season. I think she made it through 9 out of the 12 episodes or how many there is. She didn't finish it. My wife, even at one point, she's like, she got up, she's like, I can't watch it anymore. I'm like, what? And she tells me what's happened, what I missed. And I was like, no fucking way. And she's like, yeah, this is bad.
And so I got friends telling me, well, it's because the episodes are too long. I'm like, no, the tone is all off. The tone is way off. So, Luke Cage should be Unbreakable meets Menace to Society or Do the Right Thing or you know what I mean? Iron Fist should be The Raid meets Unbreakable or Big Trouble in Little China meets Unbreakable if you want to have more fun. Like Jessica Jones should be like a crime noir set in Manhattan, the more glitzier part, and she's like an Eddie Valiant. She's a drunk, and she looks the part, but she ain't the part, and with Unbreakable. Like, that's it, man. Like, that's just a formula for the tone. And just, in the first episode of the first season, she was on the toilet taking a dump, pretending to be some chick on the phone, and ran out of toilet paper. Like, there is nothing like that in the first few episodes of season 2. And I just think they don't get it. So, luckily, Better Call Saul is out, so I'm enjoying the shit out of that. That's amazing.
Quick little thing. Armando said, "Isn't the movie's called the DC Black Label?" I think that for Armando, I think that's just for the books. I think that's for like the Batman Damned book and stuff. I don't think that's what the movie universe is going to be called, but I could be wrong. But I'm pretty sure the.
Let me tell
Black
you,
Label
when we
is
go
just
to
for
the
the
theater
books.
a year from now to sit down and watch this movie, let me tell you what's going to play in front of it. DC. You're not going to see another label.
Yeah.
Do you see another label in front of the Lego Batman?
No.
No. Let me tell you, whatever they said, when the day comes, they're just going to put DC on there.
That's it. Just DC.
That's what they're going to say.
Yeah.
Marvel doesn't have a separate logo for. It doesn't say Marvel Knights before Netflix. It says Marvel. It says Netflix and then Marvel. At least now on the Sony movies, they're making them put in association with Marvel. So Marvel doesn't. If you look at the Venom trailer, it says in association with. Because they don't, But you think anyone's going to really know the difference?
No.
Look, hey, on a bright note, Bob Iger over at Disney confirmed this week that Feige's in charge of X-Men.
I know. That's so awesome.
Right. They got to get the Russo brothers when they're done with these Infinity War movies to give them a break.
For those that don't know, Feige is the man behind making all this Marvel Universe movies work.
Yeah, well, he also did 13 Marvel movies before he was in charge of that. He used to be assistant to Avi Arad, who was in charge of the Spider-Man films. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he was, had to oversee. He had to sit there, and they don't get along too well.
No.
But Feige's the guy that negotiated for Iron Man rights back from Paramount, and he's the reason why Marvel got the rights back, which is why they put him in charge. It's true. And without that, you don't get the entire MCU,
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, can't be more excited. Can't care less for the X-Men Dark Phoenix movie.
No, just get that out of the way. Yeah. Put it in theaters for a couple weeks. Get it out of the way, and then bam, we got a reboot.
Yeah, and without Daniel Heathcliff, whatever his name is,
Daniel Radcliffe.
No,
can I say this? We'll
no,
Wolverine.
No,
yes.
no, Brandon. Can't do it. Can't do it. 100%. All right. Anything else?
Nah, I'll save the rest for next week.
All right. Let me. I don't even think I can. Oh yeah. Okay. We'll skip the. I can't turn on the other thing without turning on the intro. So, all right, Brandon. With that being said, I'm gonna get back to work. I got other stuff to do. We will see you all maybe in a week, maybe not. Remember, folks, all the podcasts I've ever done are archived on the YouTube channel. At some point, I'll probably find a way to get a Gumroad up. So if someone wants to get all the podcasts, I can throw some money in the tip jar.
No, because then I'll have to do the uploading on that too.
Yeah, well, you're definitely going to be doing that. So yeah, wax on, wax off, buddy. All right, peace.
Bye, everybody.